On this episode of the Musk Hustle Show, we're going to talk Musk and Hustle Mixology. And it's been a heck of a day, so we're going to see how this episode turns out. But once again, a giveaway, so stick around, guys. Hey guys, welcome to episode number 6 of the Musk and Hustle Show and update number 7 of our fall 2017 Kickstarter campaign. So today we're going to talk Musk and Hustle Mixology. And it's been a heck of a day, and I've tried saying that like 20 times because I mess up every single time I say that. So here we go. We're going to see what happens. I've had a lot of requests to talk about the mixology side of Musk and Hustle from people that backed us in the last campaign because they got this card right here. What mixology is basically taking more than one fragrance and applying it at the same time. So mixology using Nitro Musks is not something that I'd recommend for beginners. It's not something that you want to get into right away. It's something that you're going to want to do after you've had some time to experiment with your fragrances. You get to know them, you know what you like, you know what you don't like, you know how they sort of react to your skin. And it's a little bit more of an advanced sort of thing to do with your Nitro Musk, but it's really, really cool because it allows you to get to know the fragrances even better because as you're smelling them, as you're trying to decide what you like to mix together, you get to know the fragrances a lot better. And so it's just a really good way to get to know the fragrances and to sort of become more of an expert with the fragrances. So right off the bat, this is sort of how the mixology concept came about. When I was in my late teens, my early 20s, I didn't wear a ton of cologne, but I wore enough. I wore it to special occasions and things like that. And I was using Gucci by Gucci, and I was also using Gucci Pour Homme. If any of you are familiar with those, so the original Gucci Pour Homme, it's no longer on the market. Gucci by Gucci still is, but those were two, what we would consider in Musk and Hustle, two blue fragrances. And they went really, really well together. They were both really deep, dark, smoky fragrances, and Gucci Pour Homme is such a good fragrance. And if I can, I'm going to try to get a good sample of that and see if we can really break that one down and do a really, really good creation of our own of that. But that'll be next year or in a coming release. But what I would do is I would spray one on and then I would spray the other one on. And I realized that it gave me a really unique fragrance. And I can't tell you guys, I got complimented on that combination so much. And then years went by, and that was, honestly, that was pretty much the only thing that I ever wore. When I went out, it was Gucci by Gucci and Gucci Pour Homme, and it was a combination of the two of them. I didn't even really ever wear them separately. And so then when I got into, designing my own fragrance line, it was sort of important to me to instill this idea of the mixing of fragrances and creating your own unique combinations, something that when you went out, people were like, wow, what is that? And nobody else was wearing it. And on top of that, the really cool thing is you can create sort of your own unique blends that become sort of your own unique signature fragrances that no one else has. So like for me, I wore that 2 combination fragrance set for years. And I sort of became known as that was my fragrance and nobody knew what it was. And it was really awesome. So let's get into it really quick. So there are 3 laws on this card, and I'm actually going to describe a couple more laws that have to do with the mixing of your fragrances. So right off the bat, only layer with what you know. This is law number 1. Get to know each Nitro Musk and how it smells with your body chemistry before using it to create cocktails. That's really important. You need to know how they work with your own chemistry before you start mixing them. Number 2, never roll Nitro Musks over each other. So the idea is, you're not going to roll a circle of one and then roll the other one right over it. You want them to develop on their own individually on your skin. So if you're going to roll them next to each other or even roll them on different parts of the body, but don't roll them over the top of each other. That's really important. And number 3, not all Nitro Musk cocktails are works of art. So just because you think your latest creation is brilliant doesn't mean it actually is. And that's super important because I'll tell you right now, the instinct is when you first start mixing fragrances and creating these nitro cocktails, I'll tell you what, guys, you're going to think every single combination is a work of art, and you're just going to be like, oh my gosh, I just created the most brilliant fragrance in the world, and I can tell you right now, they're not all good. Some of them are really, really bad. If any of you try to mix 105 and 114, I will come and find you, and I will personally remove those fragrances from your control because don't mix 105 and 114. That is really bad. That's just one example. So again, be critical of your own cocktails and listen to the opinions of others that like them and those that don't. Some cocktails are truly great and some just aren't. So remember that. Mixology tip. When choosing Nitro Musks to layer, this is how you're going to sort of decide which fragrances you want to try to mix. Remove the caps from 2 nitro pens and hold them right next to each other. Now wave them under your nose to smell them together. And this is the really cool thing about Nitro Musk. It makes it really easy to figure out which fragrances you think are going to work together and which ones aren't. So basically all you're going to do is you're just going to take the lid off of one. You're going to take the lid, if I can get it off of the other, and you're just basically going to hold them together as close as you can. And you're just going to wave them under your nose. And you can even, you know, if you're thinking of rolling one on a little less strong, because I will do that, I'll put one on twice as much as the other if I want a little less of the essence of one of the numbers as the other. You can actually just hold one of them a little bit further away. And that'll give you a really good idea of whether these two are a good combination. And these two are a fantastic combination. This happens to be number 208, our version of Tom Ford's Oud Wood, and number 298, our version of Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille. And these two are so good together. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So the other two combinations that I've got here with me are number 221 and number 275. And these are actually on the back of this card that we sent out with the last campaign. There are 4 combinations that we put together ourselves. Number 7 and number 116 is a great combination from the back of this card. This is number 221 and number 275, a great combination. So 275 is really sharp. It's a very yellow fragrance. And then 221 is sweet and very woody fragrance. And it's an orange, and yellow and orange go really well together. They complement each other really well. Now, not every one, but a lot of them do. And then 208 and 259, so we've got 208 again. These are going to be 2 blue fragrances, and 208 and 259 are really good. So you get the really deep wood of number 208, and then you bring in the spiciness of number 259, our version of the one by Dolce & Gabbana. And then also number 83 and number 252. Those two are really good. And those are, again, a couple of the blue fragrances from the first campaign. So yeah, let's, number 7 and number 116. So the reason that we picked number 7 and number 116 were number 7 and number 116 are both yellow fragrances. So let's talk a little bit about that. I don't advise normally to mix yellow fragrances. This is why. When you start mixing, so the yellow fragrances are very acidic. They're the citrusy, and typically it's not a good idea to mix 2 yellow fragrances. Now there are exceptions, and these are 2 of the exceptions. Number 7 is going to be more of the citrus, and number 116 has got the vetiver, and that's why these 2 work, because number 116 isn't as citrusy, and these 2 work really well together. This one's sort of the more upscale, earthy tone, a little bit mellower and more, it's more formal. And then you can sort of sport it up a little bit, sport it up with number 7. So those 2 make a really good combination. And then I sort of went over number 221 and number 275. And the reason that I pulled these 2 out is because yellow and orange fragrances typically go really well together. So they're a good place to start. And the way I do it is I just grab a couple of fragrances that I really like, and I happen to like both of these. I don't mix with anything that I don't really love. And you're going to wave them under your nose, and yellow and orange are a good place to start, and they typically work really well together. And then I brought these 2 out because, again, these are 2 of the blue fragrances, one from the last campaign and one from this campaign. And blue fragrances work really well together. Blue and orange will work really well together. Orange is sort of the common denominator. The thing about orange is you can sort of bring a blue fragrance up or bring a yellow fragrance down, and then blue fragrances work well together. So orange is safe just about anywhere. It's not a good idea to do yellows together with a few exceptions, and blues typically will work together pretty well. So that's the rule. Yellows, be careful together. Oranges and yellows work really well. Oranges and blues work really well together. Blues work really well together almost all the time. But yellows and blues don't. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I can't think of any blues and yellows that I would ever even consider. Well, So maybe some of the yellows with vetiver, you know, you probably actually could get away with number 126 and a blue. Yeah, 126, and I haven't tried this, but 126 and number 105. You know, 105's got a very interesting deep leather, and number 126 might, you know, that's something I'm going to play with after this video. So anyway, but yellows and blues typically, unless you're working with the vetivers, I'd stay away from yellows and blues. So that just gives you a good idea. So the color rules are what I added to what's already on this card during this episode. And that's pretty much Mixology. So in the comments down below, though, let me know what you think of this. If there was anything that was confusing, you guys that backed the last campaign, get on here, comment. Let us know what you've mixed, what you really like, some of your, and just so you know, one of the guys from the last campaign actually tipped me off to number 208 and 298. A gentleman from down in Australia, he bought a bunch of 298 and 208 because that's sort of his signature fragrance right now. So I love to get recommendations from you guys. I love to hear what you guys are mixing. And we just don't have time to mix them all. So you guys do the mixing for us and then write in and let us know what you guys like. For the giveaway this time, during this week, we had somebody do something really, really cool. And I can't tell you guys, I'm truly, legitimately grateful for this. We had a backer over in the UK that went on a forum that he's on that has to do with computers. It's forums.overclocker.co.uk. He went on and posted and just told people, hey, I found this really cool campaign, this aftershave. We got a ton of exposure from that, like a surprising amount. And I cannot thank, I'm not sure who the backer was because I couldn't match up the usernames from that forum and our campaign. Seriously, I'm so grateful. So I would love to see you guys get out there and be really creative. If you guys are loving Nitro Musk, get out there and share it in a creative way. Get on forums that you guys go to. Go out and talk to people. Whatever it is, that's what I want to see. If you guys will go out and share this time for the giveaway and then message me with a link to where you shared it or just share an experience with me. I'd like to have a little bit more engagement and see some real stuff happen from this giveaway. And I'm going to go crazy with this giveaway. I'm going to send it out to 10, 15 people, whatever it is. I'd really like to see what happens with this one. So go out there and share. And as always, go subscribe to us on YouTube. And until next time, remember, stay musky, my friends.